Yo, what's up? This is DJ Yella from the world's most dangerous group. You having conversations with Chad? That's my boy. Check him out.
Welcome to Conversations with Chad, where we talk to industry leaders in music, entertainment, sports, and business. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Chad. On today's episode of Conversations with Chad, I'm sitting down with a multi-platinum producer, member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and founding member of the iconic Compton, California hip-hop group, N.W.A. Please welcome the one and only DJ Yella. What's good, homie?
Oh, not too much.
Hey, so let's jump right in. Let's jump right into this. So, High Powered Productions was one of the dopest production teams with you and Dr. Dre. As kind of one of the first co-producers and working alongside and with Dre, what was the day-to-day studio environment like with you two and coming up with the different tracks and concepts for N.W.A, Eazy-E, and the JJ Fad albums?
I mean, we were just... it's hard to explain because we started from the World Class Wreckin Cru days. So we did all that in the Wreckin Cru. Then we, when they came up with N.W.A, and we started doing that, and we just do it every day. In my book, it says, when you walk in the studio, what do you see? You see me on the boards, you see Dre down on the drum machine, and that's how it was all the time. Wasn't a bunch of people in there. Only Q, Ren and them writing their parts, the DLC, when he started coming around. So that's how it was every day. Dre down there doing the beat, and I go down there and program the machines, and we put them all in the sequencers and all that because everything was done from scratch back then. We couldn't go to Google or YouTube or TikTok or nothing. We couldn't go find it nowhere. We had to find it. It had to be created and stuff.
When you look back on those N.W.A days, what do you think about? Like, what kind of memories do you carry with you from those times?
Wow, that's a good question. That's the first time I've been asked that. You know something? I don't think about them too much. Not unless I hear a song or something, I'm like, wow, okay, I remember them days. But when I think of the N.W.A days, I think of studio. Me and Dre was in the studio all the time. The tracks came out first. And then they, come around and write their raps and stuff like that. So when I think of N.W.A back in the day, it's a studio because it was always there. Because, it was record after record, hits after hits. We just kept going. It was only a 4-year span. So we had to punch out all that within 4 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had a question about one of the songs from the 100 Miles and Runnin EP. Just don't bite it, and that original sample not getting cleared. Do you recall what the original sample was for that?
It was Herbie Hancock. I know that. I don't know the name of the song. It was a Herbie Hancock. I remember Herbie Hancock called us in the studio that we couldn't use the sample.
Wow.
I was like, Herbie Hancock? Wow. And I'm looking at Dre talk to him, and he told me, he said, because of his wife or whatever the reason, he didn't let us use a sample. So it had to be recreated. But I know the Herbie Hancock, I can't remember what the name of it was. So.
Okay. Which records are your favorite that you put together during the Ruthless Records era? It doesn't have to be N.W.A, just during that Ruthless era.
The Eazy's was fun. That was, I think, the earlier songs to me, the earlier singles, when we started doing Eazy Does It, Compton in the House. Compton House is my favorite. I don't know why. It's one of the oldest ones, but it's just the earlier singles or the maxi singles or whatever they call them was the fun ones to me. My personal favorite.
Yeah. Okay. Two Hard Mothers off of Eazy's Easy Does It album. That had Eazy and Ren on there. Talk to me about that record coming together, and specifically the idea for you to hop on the drums.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I remember it. I don't know if Dre said you play the drums right or something. I can't remember, but we rented some drums and brought them in there and said, okay, we're gonna do it like this. And the guitar player, Stan, the guitar man, was playing the guitar, and I said, okay, I'm gonna act like I just jumped on the drums, picked up the stick, and started playing the beat. So we did the talking part, and then I, act like I just got on the drums, fiddled around with the sticks, and just start playing. And it just one take. That's all it was. Just right through. That was wow. Cause I played drums on not just that one. On N.W.A. album too, I played the drums. For the Parental Discretion Advised, I played the drums on that.
Oh,
I played
okay.
the drums on one of Doc's songs. I played drums on All in the Same Game. On there. I played drums almost on everything.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I never knew that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget all about it. I don't hardly ever mention it.
Right. Man, yeah, that's
I think
cool.
it was Grand Finale on the DLC's album. I played the drums on that one.
Oh, you played the drums on Grand Finale?
Yeah.
That's cool, because I was going to ask you about Grand Finale, about being, basically the last song that all of N.W.A. was on. And at that time, I mean, obviously you guys
was on that one too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I didn't even notice that.
So looking back, and you know that Grand Finale was the final song that the whole of N.W.A. as we knew it, Dre, Eazy, Cube, Ren, were together.
Yeah.
When you look back on that song, what are your thoughts about that being that final song for them?
Wow. I mean, that's something new to my ear. So that means it had to been done in '89 before the tour. It had to be. Yeah, because when we finished Straight Outta Compton on a Friday, on Monday morning, Dre said, yeah, you coming with me to do the Doc's album? I said, nah, I'm good on that. We had just finished the Straight Outta Compton, so yeah, that had to be early '89 when he worked on the Doc's album. I did not know that was the last song it was on. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Wow. I forgot all about that song.
Now, when N.W.A. came up with the name for the second album, the For Life album, and you all came up with that name before the album was even made.
Even thought of.
Yeah. And Q, mentioned that, you had quote unquote finally done something when you came up with spelling it backwards.
Yeah, we was on the back of the tour bus, and something told me to write it on a piece of paper, and I held it up to the mirror, and it came out backwards. He said, oh, you finally came up with something. I just looked at him crazy, too. But yeah, that title was made a long time, 2 years before that album.
Oh, really?
And people don't really know this, because the album was made in '91. That came up in '89, but people didn't realize this. That album was supposed to have been Eazy's album at first, but he was taking too long to do the words or something. I remember it started out to be an Eazy's second album, but it just turned out to be N.W.A.'s last album.
So, the For Life album, title and all, was originally an Eazy-E album?
Not the title, but when we started doing it, it was supposed to be an Eazy album.
Oh, okay. And then it just kind of...
was jiving around and wasn't showing up at the studio, whatever he was doing. We didn't get, couldn't get all his vote. It just was taking too long. And then it just changed for some reason. I don't know why. it changed to an N.W.A. album. So we was gonna do Eazy's album, then come out with an N.W.A. Because Eazy, it was 2 years since he had put out an album.
Right. So,
but yeah.
So did Cube have anything recorded for that album prior to his departure from the group that you're aware of?
Oh no. It was nothing else left from Cube. So like you said, the DLC, I didn't realize that he had a verse on there. So that was the last thing. That was early 89. Then we went on tour, and then Cube never came back after the tour. Once we finished that tour, he was gone.
Okay. Now, between Straight Outta Compton and the For Life album, which one was your favorite and why?
Production-wise, the last album was better by far.
Mm-hmm.
Way recorded better. We grew up on production. It just, we didn't use as many. We didn't use samples. We didn't use, we used less and less samples because we got caught and started, sued and all this stuff. But the first album was just unique by itself. It's hard to top that album, even though the second album was a better album. Now, is it because Cube wasn't on that album? I don't know. We'll never know. But the first album just was unique because it came out first. Mm-hmm. But the last album was much better. Way better.
Okay. Now, in your book, you mentioned, N.W.A. breaking up and having the #1 album at the time. Yeah. Can you kind of elaborate on your thoughts on that as far as, the group is officially broken up, but you all have the #1 album?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it's probably almost unheard of. We went we're #1 on the Billboard, and then we shipped gold out the gates. That was in the group. I was kind of just over. Even when we was doing the videos, it was kind of really over to me. The chemistry wasn't there all the way. I don't know if it was the chemistry, but it just wasn't. It may not have been officially over, but to me, it was over. By the time we did the last video, that was it.
Yeah. Okay. So, then, the group's broken up, and then you get a phone call from Dre asking you to come with him. You didn't know it was Death Row at the time, but you get a call from Dre asking you to go with him. So, what were your thoughts when all of this was happening? When like Dre, DOC, and Suge were forming this, this now infamous Death Row Records label?
Well, I mean, when he called me, it was early in the morning. When he called me and asked me, I really didn't know what he was talking about. It had to take a few days before I found out what he was talking about. Because he just said it. He said, I'm gone. Not saying I'm leaving Ruthless and all this. No, he just said, I'm gone. He said, are you coming? And I never gave him an answer until 2019, November. That's when I gave him an answer. Yeah, it was that long. Because I just never answered. And I never said, I'm going to stay with Eazy because he got the label and all that. It was never like that. When he asked me at 8:30, about 8 something in the morning, and I didn't answer him. And I didn't talk to him no more that was like 91, late 91. I didn't talk to him again until 1998. Or 96, maybe. That was the next time I talked to him.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of caught in a catch-22.
Right.
Dang if I do, dang if I don't. I had nothing against either one at all. I just didn't answer. That's all it was. I should have left with him, but I didn't. You know what it was? My response was I didn't do anything. Yeah. So I just got pushed over with E. That's all it was. I didn't pick his side. I got pushed over there.
Okay. So you said in 2019 you gave Dre an answer. What was that answer?
I told you, I didn't have an answer. That's what it was. I mean, it didn't change over time. It just, I did not have an answer. I shared it with you, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it was. It wasn't nothing else into it at all.
Okay.
That's just the decision I made. I really didn't make a decision because I didn't do anything.
Right.
So I was just caught in no man's land. That's all it was.
So, Dre does Death Row. Ice Cube's doing his thing with Lynch Mob. But then at some point there, in kind of like the mid '90s, before Eazy passes away, there's talk of an N.W.A. reunion. Then, how close were we at that time to seeing those guys reunite and bring another N.W.A. album then?
To me, I don't think it never was close. It never was discussed. I heard about he seen Cube in New York, and then I don't know if he told me, or I might have heard that he talked to Dre once or something. To me, that's about as close as it got to me. That's just my opinion. I mean, Ren had came back and we started working on a couple of songs with me, E, and Ren that ended up being on E's last album. But to me, that's the closest it came. Some phone calls. Never was meetings, never was nothing set up. So that's as far as I know.
Okay. Now, in the aftermath of N.W.A. breaking up, and obviously all the disses are going back and forth between Dre's camp and Eazy's camp, stuff like that. In comes Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about Bone coming to Ruthless and Eazy having this new group to work with.
I mean, we met him on the Humbug. We were doing a show. Me and E were doing a show in Cleveland. And I remember me and he in the backstage, he said, I'll be back. He went somewhere, and then these 5 guys came up to me, singing and rapping. I'm like, I'm thinking, what is this? That was unheard of back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of weird. And then E came back in the dressing room, and I said, hey, why don't y'all go to him? Just like that. And by the time we got off the road, them little trip, they was in L.A. They came on the bus ride. They came all the way from Cleveland to L.A. on one bag of Lay's potato chip, one big bag.
Oh, wow.
That's it. So that evidently they didn't eat for 2 days or 3 days.
Wow.
So they was determined.
Yeah.
They was really determined. But they was like us, different from the crowd, totally different. They was ahead of the game on them. They were just different. And then they, started working on some tracks, and they heard my track that I had for the love of money, and they made a song to it, just like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that record, producing that for them.
But they had already done it for a group called Yo More Market.
Right.
And they got caught up in like red tape. The company didn't know how to promote it, didn't know how to do anything. And it just was sitting there. It was just sitting there. And that track was just perfect for them.
Yeah, that was a dope record. I remember that record and that whole EP, Creeping on a Come Up. Because I can remember at the time, I had a friend that lived around the block. Her name was Melanie Kraft, and she's actually the one that introduced me to Bone. Creeping on a Come Up, and
okay.
And so I remember, man, falling in love with that EP. And I had, Thuggish Ruggish Bone, For the Love of Money, and all that on there. So
I just noticed I did the intro to it. I did some other one called Ouija. I don't know what it was. And then I did the song Mo Cheese. That was the instrumental For the Love of Money. I forgot I did 3 things on that EP.
Wow,
Even though I only got credit for one of them. So I don't know where my other credits went.
Right. That's crazy. So what were the plans for Bone Thugs, prior to Eazy's passing? I mean, obviously, we had Creeping On to come up and the full album, East 199. But what was the plan for Bone from Eazy, I guess?
I don't really know. Cause they finally came out, and then I guess they started to take off. Then he was gone. So he didn't. I'm trying to think. Did they go platinum before he died? I can't remember. I'm kind of thinking they did on their EP.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they had did the album before. I can't remember.
Okay.
Because I wasn't a part of their album, so I don't know. I know their EP was done before he passed.
So the album you guys were working on that had Roger Troutman and MC Ren were those tracks repurposed for the Straight Off the Streets album?
It was just for his last album. That Temporary Insanity, it was never enough songs for that. So that was all the songs that was left. All the ones, because I did like 7 or 8 of them or something like that on that album. But all them songs was done for his last album. I don't know if I can't remember if we was trying to make more for a double album. It's supposed to have been a double album, but it wasn't enough songs.
Okay.
That's for sure. It ain't, and there's no more. There's only one song laying around. It was a diss song that I made, but the vocals never got on it. I made the track. They had some reggae guys come in, do the breaks and stuff, but the actual lyrics never got on. And that was the last track he had.
And you said it was a diss song?
It was a diss song, yeah. I ain't gonna tell you who he was dissing, but it was a diss song. I ain't finna start no more mess.
Nah, I understand. So switching gears for a little bit, I heard in an interview that you had done recently that you said that you have never listened to The Chronic or any of Ice Cube's albums. Is that true?
Nah. Yeah, because at the time I was shooting the dope movies. I ain't got time to be listening to that stuff. Plus I had quit. Once Eazy died, I was done with music at that moment. I was through with music. Until they came back a year later, a company wanted me to do a solo album. The courts wanted me to put Eazy's album together, and then priority came to me to do the greatest hits. But after that, I was done with music, so I didn't listen to music. And I've never really heard the songs on the Chronic album. Not at all. I just didn't listen to them. That's all it was.
Man, that's crazy. Because those are, The Chronic especially is one of the landmark albums of, of all time.
Oh yeah.
So, in the Straight Outta Compton movie, your character had a scene where he was ready to produce Eazy's next album, and basically, I'm paraphrasing, but kind of showed Dre what's what. How accurate was that, and what was your mindset heading into the kind of post N.W.A. era?
Well, that didn't happen. That scene didn't happen right there.
Okay.
That was just something they used for that character, I guess, because my character had to earn lines in that movie because it was the funniest person in the movie, and so he earned the ones he got about the No Vaseline song, what he said about that. And I told Q that's exactly what I thought when that song came. We didn't sit around and listen to the song. No, I told him, I said, you got us. So that's what they used. But I had did, one couple of albums while Dre was still around. It was solo albums, like the Yomo Markey album. Dre didn't want to do it, so he asked me to do it. The JJ Fad's second album, he asked me to do it. But Dre didn't want to do it, so I had to do that one with Arabian. And then I did another solo album that was after Dre left. So I was, I guess, already prepared, you know.
Yeah.
I like me and Dre, it was me and him, you know, but, you know, I guess, you know, everything comes to an end.
Right.
So
okay.
I just kept on going.
I got you. Got a couple more questions for you. When there was talk of an N.W.A. reunion in the early 2000s, and this is when, you know, they were talking about Snoop, you know, stepping in for Eazy and all that. Were you involved in any way with that project with Dre, Ren, Cube, and Snoop?
No, I was making movies. I wasn't even thinking about it. Didn't hear nothing about it. I didn't even hear the song when it came out. Because I was into my movies.
Right.
And I just didn't have time. I wasn't never asked. Because them was Cube songs. It was not N.W.A. They just kind of marketed it like that. And Snoop was there, you know, just for the breaks. He was never there to replace E. That never would have been the thought. It was just, he was just, you know, added for the, you know, for the breaks. Because Snoop didn't have a rap verse. He didn't have no verse in it. He was just doing it in the breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. And you brought up the movies. You were into making movies. How did you get into doing the adult films?
Well, I started doing them right. When did I start? I think I started it right when Dre left. It had to be after Dre left. And a buddy of mine named Big Man, he asked E first to do the movies. And E never gave him an answer. So he came to me and asked me, say, hey, you want to make an adult movie? I said, yeah. So just like that. So, but I went into it as like producing a song or album. I went in and bought, you know, the cameras, the still cameras, the computer to edit. I went and bought all that kind of stuff. Because I went in and looking at making, you know, this is for money, not for, oh, the girls look good. Nah.
Yeah.
Because I did this for 15 years, over 350 movies.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why when them songs came up about the chin check and hello, I was deep into it.
Right. That's crazy. So how do you, you know, you live this incredible, you know, life with you know, the N.W.A. and the Fuck the Police songs and, you know, getting in to do the adult films. And then, was it 2014, 2015 that you found God?
2012.
2012.
November 2012.
Okay.
That was during the time I was homeless.
Okay.
I was homeless for 3.5 years. Not on the street homeless, but after having almost everything you wanted, and it just all went away little by little. Not because of drugs or alcohol. It just, that's what I did. I bought stuff. I like buying stuff.
Yeah.
And it was November 2012 when I got saved. And my life has changed ever since.
Yeah. Can you speak on that, on your, you know, on being saved and your life changing?
Oh yeah. I mean, because the thing about it, when I was homeless in 2010 to somewhere 2013, I wasn't looking for God. I knew nothing about God, actually. I heard of Jesus. I heard of God from my mother and all that. I never been to church. Nobody never ministered to me at all. So God didn't allow people to talk to me about that until it was time for me to get saved. And when I got saved, I just jumped in it 100%. Because think about it, the movies, I was 100%. The N.W.A. music, Wreckin Cru and all this stuff, the girls, I was 100%. So when this came to me, I was at the bottom of my life, the lowest point of my life. And, you know, being that low, there's no way but up. And then he showed me the way. He didn't allow Dre or Q, but none of them to help me to get out. Nobody helped me become unhomeless. I became unhomeless when God told me to get married to my wife. That's when I became unhomeless. She had a 1-bedroom apartment. Man. That's how I became unhomeless. So nobody helped me. God, it was all God. And ever since, that's all. I go forward. I don't look backwards. Right. Yeah, I did all this, but that's what I did. You know, that's why I wrote the book. The book wasn't for money. It was for my testimony to show how good God is. He even came and got a bad sinner like me. One of the worst sinners like me. Judas is the worst sinner, I think. But, right. You know, it's just, you know, even a person like me, he still came and got me. And I just listened to him. He tell me what to do, like DJing. I never wanted to DJ again. I haven't DJed since '89. He gave me the word DJ and he made it happen. I was homeless. Pioneer ended up sending me a controller, a brand new controller, the top of the line controller for free. I didn't even ask for it. I was just asking, trying to find out a price on them. And they sent me one from the N.W.A convention. So that's how I knew God set all this up. And he set my life up. I've been to 100 countries in the past 4 years. 100 countries.
Wow.
DJing solo. And, you know, it's just amazing. Then the movie, all kind of stuff happened. All this happened after I got saved. The movie, the Hall of Fame, all this came afterwards, not before.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, hey, Yella, man, I really appreciate you jumping on, sharing your story with me, and doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I thank you. I mean, it's an honor. It's an honor that people want to talk to me. Thank you.
And that concludes this episode of the Conversations with Chad podcast. Be sure to check us out at chadkiser.com. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening.